A confident applicant walks into a prestigious firm, ready to prove his worth, but a dismissive manager's bias sets the stage for an unexpected twist. What happens when the tables turn and the underestimated candidate returns in a position no one could have predicted? Stay tuned for the shocking revelation. Ethan Carter stepped into the polished corporate office of Garrison and Company, his head held high and his confidence radiating from every step. A seasoned professional in his early 30s, Ethan had a stellar resume that boasted a series of successful projects and innovative solutions in the tech and business sectors. Dressed sharply but not ostentatiously, he carried an air of quiet determination, prepared to make his case as the best candidate for the role of senior operations strategist. The office buzzed with activity, sleek desks and glass partitions reflecting the firm's cutting-edge image. Ethan glanced at his watch and adjusted his tie, focusing on the opportunity ahead. This role wasn't just another job, it was a chance to expand his career to new heights. Inside the interview room, Peter McConnell waited. In his mid-40s, Peter was a senior manager at Garrison and Company, known for his conservative approach and unspoken biases. He prided himself on his ability to read people and was quick to judge whether someone would fit into the company culture. Peter's definition of fit often excluded those who didn't align with his narrow view of professionalism, particularly minority candidates. Ethan greeted Peter with a firm handshake and a polite smile, quickly diving into his presentation. He spoke enthusiastically about his experience, sharing innovative ideas tailored to the role. His knowledge of the industry and clear passion for problem-solving shone through as he outlined strategies that could significantly boost the company's efficiency. But Peter's body language betrayed his reservations. He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, occasionally glancing at his phone as Ethan spoke. Midway through Ethan's presentation, Peter interrupted with probing questions that seemed less about the content and more about undermining Ethan's credibility. "Your resume is impressive," Peter said, "but how do you think you'll adapt to a culture like ours? It's different from what you're used to." Ethan maintained his composure, addressing each question with confidence and precision. Still, Peter's condescension persisted, and it became clear that the interview was a formality rather than a genuine opportunity. At the end of the meeting, Peter rejected Ethan's application, claiming the position had already been filled. "You're talented," Peter said, a thin smile on his face, "but I'm not sure this is the right fit for you." As Ethan walked out of the office, disappointment flickered across his face, but it was quickly replaced by resolve. He knew this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of a much bigger journey. As Ethan Carter stepped out of the sleek corporate office of Garrison and Company, a mix of disappointment and determination clouded his mind. The rejection stung, not because he doubted his qualifications, but because it was clear the decision had been made long before he stepped into the interview room. Ethan knew he had presented innovative ideas, backed by a proven track record. Still, the dismissive tone and patronizing attitude of Peter McConnell lingered, a reminder of the systemic biases he had faced throughout his career. Later that evening, Ethan met with his mentor, Dr. Robert Langston, a retired corporate strategist who had been instrumental in guiding Ethan's professional journey. Over coffee, Ethan recounted the interview, detailing Peter's thinly veiled skepticism and the subtle hints of prejudice. Dr. Langston listened intently, nodding as Ethan spoke. "Don't let this discourage you," Langston said firmly. "Rejection is a stepping stone, not a roadblock. You've faced bigger challenges than this. Keep applying, keep building, and let your work speak for itself." Ethan took his mentor's advice to heart. He redoubled his efforts, applying to several other firms and attending networking events to showcase his expertise. Weeks later, his persistence paid off. A competing company, Vertex Solutions, recognized his potential and offered him a high-level position overseeing strategic operations. At Vertex, Ethan thrived. His innovative ideas and ability to lead transformative projects quickly set him apart. Within a year, his initiatives had streamlined the company's supply chain, slashed operational costs, and significantly boosted revenues. These achievements didn't go unnoticed. Ethan's name began circulating in industry circles as a rising star in corporate strategy. Meanwhile, back at Garrison and Company, the company was struggling. Revenues were steadily declining, and the outdated strategies championed by senior management failed to keep pace with the rapidly evolving market. Employee morale was at an all-time low, and clients began to lose confidence in the firm's ability to deliver results. The board of directors, desperate to turn things around, realized they needed fresh leadership, a CEO who could revitalize the organization and bring innovative solutions to the table. As the board searched for candidates, one name stood out: Ethan Carter. His recent successes at Vertex Solutions had not only earned him accolades, but also made him a highly sought-after leader. Intrigued by his accomplishments, the board reached out to schedule an interview. When Ethan received the call, he was both surprised and amused. The same company that had dismissed him as unfit for their culture now wanted him to lead their entire organization. For a brief moment, he considered declining the offer, but his mentor's words echoed in his mind. "Your work will speak for itself." Ethan decided to take the meeting, not for revenge, but to seize the opportunity to drive meaningful change. As the interview date approached, news of Ethan's candidacy spread among the employees at Garrison and Company. It didn't take long for Peter McConnell to hear the name he had once dismissed. The revelation hit him like a thunderclap. Ethan Carter, the applicant he had written off as unsuitable, was now being considered for the highest position in the company. Peter couldn't hide his disbelief. How could someone he had underestimated so thoroughly rise to such prominence? His mind raced as he tried to recall every detail of their brief encounter. He couldn't help but feel a twinge of unease as the reality of Ethan's potential appointment set in. Unaware of Peter's reaction, Ethan prepared for the interview with the same diligence and focus that had propelled him to success. He knew the stakes were high, not just for himself, but for the company that was now depending on his vision to pull them out of a downward spiral. Ethan Carter stood in his home office, gazing at the portfolio he had meticulously prepared for the upcoming CEO interview at Garrison and Company. The irony of the situation wasn't lost on him. Just over a year ago, he had walked out of the same company, rejected and dismissed by Peter McConnell. Now he was poised to return, not as an applicant for a mid-level position, but as a leading contender for the top job. While the memories of that fateful interview still lingered, Ethan chose to focus on the opportunity at hand. His goal wasn't to settle old scores, but to leverage his skills to transform a struggling organization. He reflected on the lessons he had learned at Vertex Solutions, where his innovative strategies had reshaped entire divisions. Those experiences had prepared him for this moment, and he was determined to present a vision that would be impossible to ignore. The day of the interview arrived, and Ethan walked into the same building that had once symbolized disappointment. This time, however, he was greeted with a level of respect he hadn't experienced before. The board members welcomed him warmly, expressing genuine interest in his ideas and leadership style. Among those present was Peter McConnell. The sight of Ethan entering the conference room made Peter's stomach churn. He had tried to dismiss Ethan's candidacy as a misguided choice, but the board had overruled him. Now Peter had no choice but to watch as Ethan prepared to showcase his vision for the future of Garrison and Company. Ethan began his presentation with a calm confidence that immediately commanded the room's attention. Using detailed slides and data, he outlined a three-phase strategy designed to address the company's most pressing challenges. His plan focused on three pillars: innovation, inclusivity, and market expansion. Innovation is the cornerstone of any successful organization, Ethan began, highlighting case studies from Vertex Solutions, where cutting-edge solutions had revitalized stagnant operations. He emphasized the importance of adopting new technologies to streamline processes and improve customer experiences. Next, Ethan addressed inclusivity. A diverse workforce isn't just an ethical imperative, it's a competitive advantage, he explained. Drawing from his own experiences, he proposed initiatives to create a more inclusive workplace culture, including mentorship programs and targeted recruitment efforts to attract top talent from underrepresented backgrounds. Finally, Ethan turned to market expansion. He outlined strategies to tap into emerging markets, leveraging data analytics to identify growth opportunities. His vision was ambitious yet grounded in practical steps, making it clear he had both the foresight and the expertise to execute his plan. As Ethan spoke, the board members leaned forward, captivated by his clarity and passion. Even those who had initially been skeptical of his candidacy couldn't help but be impressed. It was evident that Ethan had done his homework, not only identifying the company's weaknesses, but also presenting actionable solutions. Peter, however, wasn't ready to concede. Seizing an opportunity to speak, he interrupted Ethan's presentation with a pointed question. Mr. Carter, while your ideas are compelling, how do you plan to implement such sweeping changes without disrupting our existing operations? Change is risky, and it's easy to promise results without understanding the intricacies of our company culture. Ethan met Peter's gaze without flinching. That's a valid concern, Mr. McConnell, he replied, his tone measured. However, change is necessary for growth, and with the right leadership, it doesn't have to come at the expense of stability. I've outlined a phased approach that ensures minimal disruption while maximizing impact. Additionally, I've spent the past several weeks studying Garrison and Company's operations, and I've identified key areas where improvements can be implemented seamlessly. The room remained silent as Ethan continued, addressing Peter's concerns with data and examples from his previous roles. His response not only neutralized Peter's critique, but also reinforced his expertise and strategic insight. Peter, now visibly uncomfortable, attempted another line of questioning, this time challenging Ethan's leadership experience. You've had success in smaller roles, but leading an entire organization is a different challenge altogether. What makes you confident you're ready for such a responsibility? Ethan didn't hesitate. Leadership isn't about the size of the role. It's about the impact you make. At Vertex, I wasn't just managing departments. I was driving company-wide initiatives that required coordination across multiple divisions. I've led teams through complex challenges and delivered measurable results. More importantly, I understand the value of collaboration and empowering others to contribute to a shared vision. The board members exchanged approving glances, clearly impressed by Ethan's poise and comprehensive answers. Peter, on the other hand, looked increasingly out of place. His attempts to undermine Ethan had only served to highlight the gap between their leadership styles. As the interview concluded, the board members thanked Ethan for his time and professionalism. They then excused themselves for a private discussion to deliberate on the candidates. Ethan left the room, his heart racing, but his confidence intact. He had given everything he had, and now it was out of his hands. Back in the conference room, the board's discussion was brief but unanimous. Ethan's presentation had set him apart from the other candidates, not just in terms of content, but also in his demeanor and vision. They recognized that he was exactly the kind of leader Garrison and Company needed to navigate its current challenges and emerge stronger. When Ethan received the call later that evening, he allowed himself a moment of quiet satisfaction. The board had offered him the CEO position, and he had accepted. It wasn't just a victory for him, it was a chance to redefine what leadership could look like at Garrison and Company. Ethan Carter assumed his position as CEO of Garrison and Company with a clear mandate to modernize the company, repair its reputation, and foster a culture that valued innovation and inclusivity. On his first day, he addressed the company's employees in a town hall meeting that set the tone for his leadership. This company's strength lies in its people, Ethan began, standing confidently in front of hundreds of employees. We're going to build an organization that values every individual's contribution, celebrates diversity, and dares to innovate. Change isn't easy, but it's necessary, and together we'll achieve it. The employees responded with cautious optimism. Many had grown weary of the company's stagnant leadership, and Ethan's fresh energy and vision were a welcome change. However, not everyone shared the enthusiasm. Peter McConnell, now reporting directly to Ethan, was unsettled by the drastic shift in power dynamics. Watching the man he had once dismissed as unsuitable rise to the highest position in the company was a bitter pill to swallow. Peter struggled to hide his discomfort, and his interactions with Ethan remained cold and perfunctory. As Ethan began implementing sweeping changes, Peter's discomfort grew. Ethan prioritized diversity and inclusivity, introducing mentorship programs for underrepresented employees, and revising recruitment policies to attract a broader pool of talent. He also established transparency in operations, creating channels for employees at all levels to contribute ideas. Peter resisted these initiatives at every turn. He dismissed the diversity programs as overcomplicating things and often questioned Ethan's decisions in meetings. Behind closed doors, he grumbled to his peers about the unnecessary disruptions Ethan was introducing. Despite Peter's resistance, Ethan remained focused on his vision. He understood that Peter's behavior stemmed from insecurity and a refusal to adapt to change. Rather than confronting Peter immediately, Ethan concentrated on building trust and demonstrating results. The turning point came during a high-stakes meeting with the board and senior management. Ethan presented an ambitious plan to expand Garrison and Company's presence into international markets, leveraging technology and strategic partnerships to position the company as a global leader. Standing at the front of the room, Ethan outlined the proposal with his usual clarity and conviction. The plan was bold but backed by meticulous research and data, showcasing Ethan's understanding of the market's potential. As the board members listened intently, Peter seized an opportunity to interject. "While this plan is certainly ambitious," Peter began, his tone dripping with skepticism, "I can't help but question whether we're biting off more than we can chew. International markets are unpredictable, and the risk could outweigh the rewards. I'm concerned this could jeopardize the company's stability." The room fell silent as Peter's words lingered in the air. All eyes turned to Ethan, who stood unfazed. He met Peter's gaze, his demeanor calm but resolute. "Thank you for raising that concern, Peter," Ethan replied, his voice steady. "Risk is a factor in any business decision, but it's important to differentiate between calculated risks and reckless ones. Our competitors are already establishing footholds in these markets, and if we fail to act, we'll be left behind. This plan is about positioning ourselves as a leader, not a follower." Ethan continued, addressing the room with unwavering confidence. "It's also worth noting that our current strategy isn't sustainable. Staying within our comfort zone has led to stagnation, and the data supports this. We need to evolve, not just to survive, but to thrive." The board members nodded in agreement, clearly impressed by Ethan's composure and thorough understanding of the company's needs. Peter, however, wasn't ready to back down. "But how do you plan to manage the cultural differences in these markets?" Peter challenged. "Expanding internationally requires a deep understanding of local practices. I'm not convinced we're prepared for that." Ethan smiled, sensing an opportunity to emphasize one of his key points. "That's precisely why diversity and inclusivity are so critical to our success," and he explained. "By building a team that reflects the markets we're entering, we'll have the insights and cultural understanding we need to succeed. Inclusivity isn't just a moral imperative, it's a business strategy." The room erupted in quiet applause, the board members visibly impressed by Ethan's ability to tie his vision into actionable outcomes. Peter, on the other hand, sat in awkward silence, realizing that his attempts to undermine Ethan had only highlighted his own resistance to change. As the meeting concluded, the board voted unanimously to approve Ethan's expansion plan. The decision was a resounding endorsement of his leadership and vision. Over the following months, Ethan's strategies began to yield results. The company's international expansion brought in new revenue streams, and the revamped workplace culture fostered innovation and collaboration. Garrison and Company earned accolades as a forward-thinking organization, and Ethan's leadership became a model for others in the industry. Peter, meanwhile, found himself increasingly isolated. His outdated mindset and reluctance to adapt had alienated him from colleagues who were embracing the new direction. At one point, he even considered leaving the company, but something held him back, perhaps a growing awareness that he had been wrong about Ethan. Ethan decided it was time for a direct conversation. During a one-on-one meeting, he addressed the tension between them. "Peter, I've noticed your concerns about some of the changes we've implemented," Ethan began. "I want to hear your thoughts, but I also think it's important for us to have an honest discussion about the past." Peter shifted uncomfortably but nodded. "You're right," he admitted. "I wasn't fair to you during your interview. I let my biases cloud my judgment, and I made assumptions that I now realize were completely wrong." Ethan leaned forward, his tone firm yet empathetic. "Acknowledging that is a good start, Peter. But growth isn't just about admitting mistakes. It's about learning from them and taking steps to improve. This company can only succeed if we work together and respect each other's contributions." The conversation marked a turning point for Peter. While it didn't erase his past behavior, it motivated him to change. He began attending diversity training sessions with an open mind, and took steps to support Ethan's initiatives. Slowly but surely, he earned the respect of his colleagues and even Ethan himself. By the end of Ethan's first year as CEO, Garrison and Company had transformed into a thriving, innovative powerhouse. The company's success was a testament to the power of inclusive leadership and the willingness to embrace change. Ethan's journey from rejection to the top was celebrated as an inspiring story of resilience and vision. The transformation of Garrison and Company under Ethan Carter's leadership became the talk of the corporate world. Once a struggling company on the brink of irrelevance, it now stood as a shining example of innovation, inclusivity, and success. Industry analysts praised Ethan for his strategic vision, and business publications featured his story as a case study in effective leadership. Ethan's schedule was soon filled with invitations to speak at industry conferences and leadership summits. Standing before packed auditoriums, he shared his journey, both the professional milestones and the personal challenges. Leadership isn't just about driving profits, he often said. It's about creating environments where everyone feels valued and empowered to contribute their best. Ethan's message of inclusivity struck a chord, inspiring other leaders to reevaluate their own workplace cultures. He didn't shy away from addressing the systemic barriers he had faced, using his platform to advocate for equity and opportunity across industries. Meanwhile, back at Garrison and Company, Peter McConnell began his own journey of transformation. As part of the company's renewed commitment to inclusivity, all senior staff were required to attend diversity and inclusion training. Initially resistant, Peter approached the sessions with reluctance. But as he listened to the experiences of colleagues from diverse backgrounds, something began to shift within him. For the first time, Peter reflected deeply on his past behavior, particularly his treatment of Ethan during that fateful interview. The training sessions forced him to confront the biases he had carried for years and the impact they had on those around him. Slowly but steadily, Peter began to change his approach. He started advocating for inclusive hiring practices and made a conscious effort to support initiatives that promoted equity within the company. Ethan, observing Peter's progress, offered him an olive branch. "Growth is a process," Ethan said during a casual conversation. "What matters is that you're taking steps in the right direction. We all have room to learn." Beyond his work with senior staff, Ethan focused on empowering the next generation of professionals. He launched a mentorship program designed to support young talent, particularly individuals from underrepresented communities. Through one-on-one guidance and structured workshops, Ethan shared his insights, helping mentees navigate the challenges of building successful careers. Ethan also established the Carter Scholarship Fund, aimed at providing financial assistance to aspiring business leaders from marginalized backgrounds. "When I started out, opportunities were scarce," he said during the scholarship's launch event. "This program is about opening doors for those who deserve a chance to succeed." As the company flourished, so did its reputation as a beacon of modern leadership. Employees took pride in their work, knowing they were part of something bigger than themselves. And while Ethan's leadership was at the forefront, the changes he had inspired resonated throughout the entire organization. Garrison and Company wasn't just thriving, it was leading a movement for inclusivity and innovation. Ethan had proven that success wasn't just about numbers, it was about people. Months later, Garrison and Company hosted its annual company-wide event, a celebration of its remarkable transformation and achievements. Employees filled the grand hall, their energy vibrant and optimistic. The event marked not only the company's success, but also the shift in its culture, a culture of inclusivity, collaboration, and innovation, led by none other than Ethan Carter. As Ethan took the stage, the crowd erupted in applause. He paused for a moment, taking in the faces of the people who had become the backbone of the company's resurgence. When the room quieted, he began to speak. "Standing here today, I can't help but reflect on the journey that brought us here," Ethan said, his voice steady but emotional. "This company was at a crossroads when I stepped into this role, and it's because of the hard work and dedication of every single person in this room that we've not only overcome our challenges, but thrived." He turned his attention to the board members seated in the front row. "I want to thank the board for believing in my vision. Your trust gave me the platform to implement the changes we needed, and together, We've built something truly special." Ethan's tone shifted to one of encouragement. "But this isn't just my journey. It's about creating opportunities for everyone, regardless of where they come from or what they look like. Talent and potential exist everywhere. It's our responsibility to recognize and nurture them." As the applause died down, Peter McConnell stood and approached the stage. The room fell silent as he took the microphone. "Ethan, I need to say something," Peter began, his voice filled with sincerity. "I was wrong about you, about the way I treated you, and about what this company needed. You've shown me the power of vision, resilience, and leadership. I'm grateful for the lessons you've taught me, and I want to apologize for the prejudice I let guide my actions." The room was quiet as Peter extended his hand. Ethan smiled warmly and shook it, a gesture of reconciliation and mutual respect. The audience erupted in applause, moved by the moment of closure. As the event concluded, Ethan's journey from rejection to CEO became a powerful symbol of perseverance and the transformative power of change. His leadership inspired not just the company, but everyone who heard his story, proving that greatness comes from lifting others and embracing a shared vision for a better future.